1 week after Sammy Guevara was suspended by AEW indefinitely without pay, pending further review after controversial statements were made by Sammy Guevara on a podcast in 2016 regarding WWE SmackDown star Sasha Banks surfaced last week on social media, it would appear that we already have an update as to if and when Sammy Guevara will return to AEW. Now, Sammy Guevara has apologized both privately and publicly to Sasha Banks. However, AEW announced later that day that they had suspended the Inner Circle member without pay, and during this period, his salary would be donated to the Women's Center of Jacksonville and he would undergo sensitivity training. Now, I have the quote in front of me because I think it's important to factor in this quote when we talk about the updates as to Sammy Guevara's potential return to AEW. So AEW, when they announced that they had suspended Sammy Guevara last week, said, quote, AEW insist on doing our part to create a world of understanding and respect for humankind. We therefore strongly condemn the extremely offensive and hurtful words of Sammy Guevara. As such, effective immediately, Sammy is suspended without pay until further notice. Sammy has agreed to undergo extensive sensitivity training and, upon completion, his future status with the company will be reevaluated. During his suspension, his salary will be donated to the Women's Center of Jacksonville. Again, it's important to factor in that final line of his future status within the company will be reevaluated, because that opened up a lot of questions. Of course, naturally, a lot of people were suggesting then, okay, he's going to have this sensitivity training, he's going to undergo this suspension by AEW, but it's still up in the air as to if he could return to the company. However, just 1 week later, it would appear that that decision has already been made. And now AEW Executive Vice President Cody has confirmed on his Twitter that Sammy Guevara will eventually return to AEW. He said, quote, Sammy will return, and he will return a better professional wrestler and a better man when he does, end quote. To me, that's just a very... And I want to be careful how I say this. That to me is a very bad thing for Cody Rhodes to say on his Twitter, and a very negligent thing for him to say. Now, this Sasha Banks Sammy Guevara issue, to me, it's done. That issue is done. That was last week. The comments had resurfaced. Sammy Guevara apologized publicly and privately to Sasha Banks. No word if Sasha Banks had actually accepted Sammy Guevara's apology. She released a statement on her Twitter basically saying that Sammy had spoken to her. She strongly condemned his comments made in the past and no one should be spoken about in that way. I'm paraphrasing there, but that's essentially what it was. Now, AEW, when they released a statement that they had suspended Guevara indefinitely without pay and he'd been forced to undergo sensitivity training, I really commended them for that, because I think it was the right thing to do. And the comments, regardless of when they were made, what context they were made, I don't care if they were made 10 years ago, whatever. They were wrong, they were disgusting, and they weren't right. I've seen some people, I think it might have been even in The Observer, but I've seen some people say, oh, this was just slang for the way that you're talking about women. Sammy Guevara, I don't know how old he would have been like 4 years ago or whatever. He might have been like 21 or something. If that's the case, he would be the same age as me during that time. I can equivocally say I would never say anything about that when describing a female. That isn't slang. It's disgusting. No one talks about... or that people shouldn't talk about women in that way. It's vulgar, it's vile, and it's wrong. You shouldn't joke about things that cause people so much pain and so much horror. It was wrong. Regardless, my point there is that it was wrong. And it wasn't slang, it wasn't any of that stuff. It was wrong and it was disgusting. And that's what that was. So I strongly... I said AEW had done the right thing, and I strongly praise them for suspending Sammy Guevara. I strongly praise them for not only suspending him, but suspending him without pay, making him undergo sensitivity training, and also donate his salary to the Women's Center of Jacksonville. That was the right thing to do, and the right outcome for them. Now, I'm not advocating for Sammy Guevara to lose his job. I'd never advocate really for anyone to lose their job unless some of those allegations that came out in the Speaking Out movement last week, then maybe I am in that case. Maybe I'm being slightly hypocritical there. But the idea that a week later, remember, Sammy Guevara has been suspended indefinitely. Remember that word, indefinitely, without pay. The idea that a week later, or maybe even less, maybe even when AEW was releasing that statement, they already knew their future decision about Sammy Guevara's status in the company, which to me, why put it in the statement then? Why put it in the statement? It's incredibly hypocritical for AEW to say in that statement right there that his status within the company will be further evaluated once he's undergone the sensitivity training, once he's undergone this and underdone that. No, because you're executive vice president, and I would probably say your most senior executive vice president. Cody Rhodes is the mouthpiece for the company most of the time. Yes, the buck stops with Tony Khan, and Tony Khan makes all the decisions. He's the Vince McMahon of AEW, and he makes the final call on everything. But Cody Rhodes is one of the most vocal EVPs in the company. He's certainly the face of the company inside and outside of the ring on the media calls and such forth. So for him to already come out and say that Sammy Guevara is going to be back makes a mockery of that statement altogether. It makes you think that AEW wasn't sincere in suspending Sammy Guevara. They did it for PR reasons, not because they thought it was the right call. It turns that statement that was highly praised and highly commended, it turns it upside down for me. How can you strongly condemn the actions and words of one of your talents, suspend him, but then already say a week later, oh yeah, he'll be coming back? When in your statement you said it's going to be reevaluated at a further date. Well, it looks like you've done all your reevaluation already. And again, Sammy Guevara is a fantastic talent. I've said this so many times. Sammy Guevara is a tremendous talent. And he probably still is. He's a future AEW World Champion, I think, without a doubt. He's a future main eventer for the company. That's the real reason why they're not going to get rid of Sammy Guevara, because they wouldn't want him to see him go anywhere else. He's too valuable to the company's future to let him go anywhere else. And I understand that decision by AEW. I absolutely understand that decision. And once again, I have to stress here, I'm not advocating for anyone to lose their job. I'm not advocating that they need to get rid of Sammy Guevara for those comments he made 4 years ago. I do truly believe that people make mistakes, and I do truly believe that people deserve second chances, and people can grow, and people aren't the same person that they were 4 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago, let alone what Sammy Guevara may be. So I absolutely agree with them on that, and I do agree that it was the right call to suspend him and make him undergo this sensitivity training, and make sure that he donated his salary to a charitable cause at that time. What I do have a problem with is that part of that statement is obviously a lie. The idea that they're going to reevaluate Sammy Guevara's status later on after he's completed this sensitivity training, it's baloney. It's not true. It's false. Because you've already, according to your EVP, who is very strong with his statements on Twitter, he has already made the decision that Sammy Guevara is going to come back to the company. And that would mean that that's the line from the very top from Tony Khan. Once again, I'm not saying I have a problem with that decision. I don't have a problem with them giving Sammy Guevara a second chance. He's a great worker. By all accounts, he's a great guy. His comments are undefensible, and you can't defend them. They're not slang. They were wrong. They were disgusting. They were vile. It doesn't mean he has to get fired at all. Again, my point is that in your statement, you haven't told the truth there. And then it makes you wonder how sincere that statement is from AEW there. Did they do that because that's how they felt, or did they do that because that was the right thing to do from a PR perspective at the time? I would suggest the latter. And again, as a businessman myself, I've worked in marketing, I've worked in PR. I understand AEW's reasoning for that. I understand their reasoning. It's just one of those eye-rolling things. You take every matter seriously and you're trying to make the world a better place for humankind, and yet a week later you've already made your mind up on something that you were going to wait however long to make your mind up on. So, again, it's one of those things that I think is a bit tone-deaf from AEW, considering the circumstances, or not necessarily AEW from Cody Rhodes. He was the one that tweeted it. He was the one that made the statement that Sammy Guevara is going to be returning to AEW, and he's going to be returning a better man and a better wrestler. Well, he only made the story is less than a week old, or about a week old, and the story is just simmering back down to, I'm not sure why you would want to do another comment on it so quickly. I'm not sure why you would want to announce that you've already made the decision regarding his future already. To me, that just comes across very tone deaf from AEW and Cody Rhodes there. So, but the main thing out of this, after my little tangent, rant, whatever you want to call it there, is over. The main thing we know is that Sammy Guevara isn't going to be released by AEW, and I don't think that was the assumption from many people. I think the assumption was from most people that he would come back. I just think that most people thought the decision would be made, a couple of weeks. At least a couple of weeks later. Give it to the end of July or something and say he's undergone a month's sensitivity training or whatever. But we're talking a matter of days here. and Cody Rhodes has already announced that he is going to be coming back. Now, we don't know when Sammy Guevara, of course, is going to be coming back to AEW. We don't know when, where, how long it's going to be that he's out, but he is going to be coming back. And that itself isn't a massive story. I just think the way that Cody Rhodes announced it, or the way Cody Rhodes has tried to, I don't know, the statement that he made there, I just don't agree with that. I think that's the wrong way to handle it, and it's not the right time to even address the situation. Like I said, the story's only a week old. It was over. I think people were finally over it. Sasha Banks, Sammy Guevara, AEW, everyone, social media had drawn a line in the situation, and it was over. To bring it back up again and already suggest that you've made your mind up on it, to me, it just comes across as very tone deaf. But, you know, I'm glad that Sammy Guevara hasn't lost his job. Again, I'm not advocating that he should lose his job or anything of that point. I just don't agree with the situation in which AEW has dealt with announcing that he is going to be coming back. Now, as I mentioned, we don't have a time, date, when, where, anything of that point, but Sammy Guevara will be coming back, and I'm glad to see it. The Inner Circle's not the same without him. He was doing great with Chris Jericho. I'm sure Chris Jericho was pulling for him hard backstage for AEW not to do something silly in their minds or in his mind. So Guevara will be back. I would assume he'll be back by All Out. I would have thought All Out is AEW's biggest show. It's normally at the end of August, start of September. That gives you a couple of months to let the story die down even more, unless Cody Rhodes decides to talk about it more on Twitter again. But that would give the story time to die down. It would give Sammy Guevara time to undergo this sensitivity training and undergo a period of growth and maturity, let's hope. But of course, this is just one man's opinion. What is your opinion on Cody announcing that Sammy Guevara will be staying with AEW just less than a week after the story itself broke? Let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts on Cody announcing Guevara is going to be staying with the company just a few days after the story itself broke that he was suspended by AEW. Let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and share this video. You can subscribe to us by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media programs, social media platforms right now on the screen. That's at 365Wrestle on Twitter, at WrestleNews365 on Facebook and Instagram. And go to WrestleNews365.com for all the very latest news, articles, updates, and all of that good stuff. It's all there at WrestleNews365.com. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. And I'll speak with you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.